Research Station Helios hung silently in deep space, its medical wings glowing softly against the backdrop of distant stars. Dr. Sarah Chen stared through the observation deck's window, absently rubbing her newly grafted synthetic arm. The neural integration procedure had gone smoothly, but like all the other patients in the station's renowned rehabilitation center, she still had weeks of therapy ahead. "Dr. Chen, your afternoon physical therapy session begins in 10 minutes, announced Arya, the station's AI, her voice carrying a gentle reminder. Sarah sighed, turning away from the window. "Thanks, Arya. Though I'm not sure how productive I'll be today." The arms being stubborn. "Your neural adaptation rates are actually 15% above average," Arya responded encouragingly. "Though I detect increased cortisol levels. Perhaps we should dash." The AI's voice cut off abruptly as the station's lighting shifted to deep red. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as 3 alien vessels materialized from fold space, their angular forms unlike anything in human records. "Unknown vessels approaching," Arya announced, her usual warmth replaced by clinical precision. No response to hails. "Their weapon systems are active." Station Director Marcus Wong's voice crackled over the intercom, "All personnel, this is not a drill. We have unidentified hostile vessels approaching. All patients please proceed to designated safety zones. Medical staff to emergency stations." Sarah didn't move toward the safety zones. Instead, she found herself analyzing the alien's approach vector with the same focus she usually reserved for xenobiology research. "Arya, what are their targeting patterns?" "They appear to be focusing on medical and rehabilitation sectors," the AI responded. "Curious. They're bypassing our research facilities entirely." The first impacts rocked the station. Sarah grabbed the window frame with her good arm, while her synthetic one adjusted automatically for balance. That's when she noticed something odd about the alien's attack pattern. "They're using minimal force," she muttered. "Arya, run a comparison. Are they using standard military ordnance?" "Negative. Energy signatures suggest crowd control weaponry. Their tactics appear designed for capturing rather than destroying the station." Sarah's eyes narrowed as the pieces clicked together. "They're targeting the medical wings because they think we'll be easy prey." "Arya, how many patients do we currently have in rehabilitation?" 273, Doctor. 60% human." A small, dangerous smile crossed Sarah's face. "And how many of those humans are military personnel recovering from combat injuries?" 42%. The station shook again as the first boarding pods attached themselves to the hull. Sarah could hear the distant sound of cutting tools beginning their work. But instead of fear, she felt a strange calm descending. These aliens, whoever they were, had just made a fundamental mistake in their tactical assessment. "Arya, patch me into the general comms. Medical staff frequency only. Channel open, Doctor. This is Dr. Chen. I want every cybernetics specialist and medical engineer to listen carefully. Our visitors seem to think a station full of recovering humans will be easy to subdue. I propose we show them exactly how creative humans can be with medical equipment when properly motivated. Implementation Code Hippocrates 7. The response was immediate. Throughout the medical wings, staff members began moving with purpose. Dr. Patel in cybernetics was already modifying nerve stimulators. Dr. Rodriguez had a gleam in her eye as she looked at the physical therapy equipment's power systems. And in the recovery wards, dozens of injured but highly trained military personnel were sharing knowing looks. As the first alien breaching pods finished cutting through the hull, Sarah flexed her synthetic arm, running through the emergency override protocols she'd helped design but never thought she'd use. "Arya, initialize emergency medical protocols. And please remind our staff that technically, we're not violating our oaths. After all." She smiled as her arm strength limiters disengaged. "First, do no harm only applies if they don't shoot first. The aliens that burst through the hull were tall, insectoid creatures in sleek armor. Their weapons were raised, but their postures showed clear confusion at the lack of panic. In fact, the humans they could see seemed almost amused. They were about to learn why attacking a station full of injured humans, especially ones with access to advanced medical technology in too much time to think about creative applications for it, was a serious tactical error. Sarah watched as the first group of aliens rounded the corner, their weapons trained on what they assumed were helpless patients. Behind her, she could hear the soft whir of modified medical equipment powering up, and the quiet chuckles of humans who'd just been given a chance to demonstrate exactly how dangerous bored, creative, and supposedly injured humans could be. The battle for Research Station Helios was about to begin, and it wasn't going to go anything like the aliens expected. The first alien squad that encountered Sarah Chen's welcoming committee stopped dead in their tracks. Their mandibles clicked in what might have been confusion as they surveyed the scene before them, a group of supposedly injured humans standing calmly in the middle of the corridor, many still attached to various medical devices. "You appear to be lost," Sarah called out, her synthetic arm hanging casually at her side. "This is a medical facility. Perhaps you need assistance." The alien commander stepped forward, its translator crackling to life. "Surrender peacefully, damaged ones. The Kraxan Empire offers mercy to those who cannot fight." Behind Sarah, someone actually snorted. It was Captain James Martinez, still technically in traction for his spinal reconstruction. He'd insisted on being wheeled to the front lines, his bed's medical support systems humming softly. "Damaged ones?" Martinez called out. "Doc, did this bug just call us damaged?" "I believe they did, Captain." Sarah's voice carried a dangerous edge. "Aria, please begin emergency protocol Nightingale." The station's lighting shifted suddenly, and the soft background hum of medical equipment rose to a higher pitch. The aliens raised their weapons, but Sarah noticed their uncertainty. They clearly hadn't expected this level of organization from what they assumed would be panicked, helpless patients. "Last chance," Sarah offered. "Leave now, and we'll consider this a medical emergency rather than an act of war." The Kraxan commander raised its weapon. "You are in no position to dash." That's when Martinez's bed shot forward at approximately 40 kilometers per hour, its anti-grav systems repurposed into what Dr. Rodriguez had gleefully termed tactical mobility enhancement. The bed slammed into the first row of aliens with the force of a small car, scattering them like bowling pins. "Medical emergency in progress." Martinez shouted cheerfully as his bed executed a perfect turn. "Please clear the corridors." All hell broke loose. Down every corridor, patients and medical staff launched into action. Private Chen, still recovering from double leg replacements, demonstrated that her new prosthetics could kick with significantly more force than the manufacturer had advertised. Dr. Patel's modified nerve stimulators turned out to be surprisingly effective at disrupting the aliens' armor systems. "Aria, status report." Sarah called out as she ducked under alien fire, her synthetic arms' enhanced reflexes proving remarkably useful for combat. "Multiple breaches on decks 3 through 7, the AI reported calmly. However, the Kraxan forces appear to be experiencing unexpected difficulties. Dr. Rodriguez's modifications to the physical therapy equipment are proving quite effective." As if to emphasize Aria's point, a group of aliens suddenly went flying past, propelled by what appeared to be a repurposed muscle stimulation unit. Behind them, Dr. Rodriguez was cackling with perhaps a bit too much enthusiasm. "I'm calling this one aggressive physical therapy," she shouted, adjusting the controls. "Who's next for treatment?" The Kraxan forces were quickly learning several important lessons about humans. First, that medical technology designed to help humans heal could be terrifyingly effective when repurposed for defense. Second, that bored patients with engineering degrees should never be underestimated. And third, that humans became decidedly creative when annoyed. In the cybernetics lab, patients with neural implants were discovering that their fine-tuned motor control systems made them exceptional at close-quarters combat. The rehabilitation gym had been transformed into an improvised fortress, with exercise equipment serving double duty as barricades and weapons. "Commander," Sarah heard one alien soldier transmit over their comms, which Arya had helpfully started translating, "the damaged ones, they're not behaving like damaged ones should. Fall back." The Kraxan commander ordered. "Regroup and dash." They never finished the order. That's when the pediatric ward's contingent arrived, led by Dr. Hassan and a dozen teenagers testing their new prosthetics. The sight of adolescent humans moving with augmented speed and strength, while wielding modified medical equipment, finally broke the aliens' morale. As the first wave of Kraxan forces retreated in disarray, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. She flexed her synthetic arm, its combat adaptations performing far better than she'd ever expected during testing. "Arya, broadcast on all frequencies," she ordered. "To the Kraxan Empire forces, your initial diagnosis appears to be incorrect. We recommend immediate withdrawal for your own safety. Otherwise, we'll be forced to schedule you for intensive care." The retreating aliens left behind scattered weapons, damaged armor, and a valuable lesson about making assumptions. Research Station Helios might be a medical facility, but its patients and staff had just demonstrated that healing humans were far from helpless. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Sarah looked around at her fellow defenders. Martinez was already calculating how to improve his bed's turning radius. Dr. Rodriguez was taking notes on therapeutic applications of kinetic force. And throughout the station, humans who had come here to heal were discovering that their recoveries had given them strengths their attackers never expected. The Kraxan Empire had made a serious error in their initial assessment. But Sarah had a feeling this was just the beginning. After all, they still had several hundred more patients who hadn't had their chance at physical therapy yet. The Galactic Council's emergency session was in chaos. Representatives from a dozen species shouted over each other as footage from Research Station Helios played on the main display. The images showed what appeared to be a human in a hoverbed ramming through a squad of Kraxan soldiers while shouting medical terminology. Ambassador Tlara of the Viridian Confederation raised all four of her hands for silence. "Let me understand this correctly," she said, her translator struggling to convey her mix of horror and amazement. "The Kraxan Empire attacked a human medical facility because they thought injured humans would be easier to subdue?" The Kraxan representative, General Zixtal, shifted uncomfortably. "Our tactical analysis suggested dash." "Your tactical analysis," interrupted the Centaurian delegate, "failed to account for human adaptability. Did none of your analysts research human medical technology? Or human psychology?" On the display, the footage switched to show a human doctor repurposing neural rehabilitation equipment into what the report described as localized electromagnetic disruption devices. Several council members winced as they watched the results. "We're receiving similar reports from 3 other sectors," announced Undersecretary Island. "It seems the Kraxan Empire launched coordinated attacks on multiple human medical facilities. The results are consistent." New footage appeared, showing scenes from various stations. Humans in various stages of recovery turning medical equipment into defensive weapons. Patients with prosthetic limbs demonstrating capabilities well beyond normal specifications. Medical staff proving remarkably creative with their equipment. The human response has been surprisingly measured, Clara noted. They're treating this as a medical emergency rather than a military attack. Their defensive protocols seem designed to incapacitate rather than kill. That's worse. Zixtal burst out. Do you understand what this is doing to our military reputation? Our forces are being defeated by patients in recovery. The footage is spreading across the galactic net. Indeed, the recordings were becoming something of a sensation. The image of humans turning medical equipment into defensive weapons while maintaining professional medical terminology had captured the public imagination. The clip of a therapy group repelling boarders while continuing their scheduled exercises was particularly popular. Sarah Chen's voice played over the latest footage. To all cracks and forces, your treatment plan has been updated to include immediate withdrawal. Failure to comply may result in aggressive therapeutic intervention. The humans are making a mockery of us. Zixtal protested. No, Clara corrected firmly. The humans are defending themselves while adhering to medical ethics. They're treating your attacks as a widespread outbreak of poor judgment requiring immediate corrective action. The council chambers erupted in barely suppressed laughter as new footage showed a group of Kraxan soldiers being driven back by what appeared to be a modified physical therapy robot, while a human doctor calmly narrated their retreat as if it were a medical procedure. What are the humans demanding in response to these attacks? Asked the Centaurian delegate. Undersecretary Island consulted her displays. That's perhaps the most interesting part. The humans are classifying this as a public health crisis requiring immediate educational intervention. They're offering to provide the Kraxan Empire with comprehensive data on human medical technology, rehabilitation procedures, and their applications. They want to educate us. Zixtal seemed stunned. Indeed. Their official response states, the recent incidents demonstrate a dangerous lack of understanding regarding human medical capabilities and recovery protocols. We propose an immediate exchange of medical information to prevent further misunderstandings. The footage switched again, showing Dr. Sarah Chen addressing the camera from Research Station Helios. Behind her, staff and patients were already repairing damage and, more worryingly, improving their defensive modifications. We understand the Kraxan Empire's error, she said diplomatically. Human medical technology focuses on enhancement and adaptation rather than simple repair. What they perceived as weakness was actually strength in development. We invite their medical and military experts to attend demonstrations of our rehabilitation procedures. Perhaps next time, they won't mistake a recovery ward for an easy target. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans weren't just defeating the attacks, they were turning them into a teaching opportunity. And somehow, that was more intimidating than any military response would have been. I move that we officially classify human medical facilities as Category 1 protected installations, Clara announced. Not for their protection, but for the protection of anyone foolish enough to attack them. The motion passed unanimously. Even the Kraxan representative voted in favor, though they seemed to be suffering from what humans would diagnose as acute embarrassment. As the session concluded, Undersecretary Island made one final announcement: the humans have submitted their first batch of educational materials. They're calling it a comprehensive guide to human recovery protocols, why attacking medical stations is bad for your health. The galaxy, it seemed, was about to learn some very important lessons about human nature, medical technology, and the inadvisability of underestimating either one. High Admiral Czar of the Kraxan Empire stared at the tactical display with all four of his eye stalks twitching in frustration. The latest reports from their simple subjugation operation had turned their military strategy into a galactic laughingstock. Footage of their elite forces being outmaneuvered by humans in medical recovery was trending across every communications network. One final strike, he chittered to his assembled commanders. We will commit our full battle fleet. These humans must learn their place. His tactical officer nervously raised a manipulator. Sir, the humans have been upgrading their medical station's defenses. They're calling it preventative medicine. Then we will strike them all simultaneously. They cannot have modified every facility. Deep in space, Research Station Helios had indeed been busy. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly reinforced command center, surrounded by displays showing other human medical facilities across the sector. The recovery ward had been transformed into a combination rehabilitation center and defense coordination hub. They're really going to try again, Martinez commented from his now heavily modified medical bed, which had been upgraded with tactical displays and control systems. You have to admire their dedication to bad decisions. Arya, status of the network? Sarah asked. All 37 human medical facilities in the sector are connected and coordinating, the AI responded. Dr. Rodriguez's innovations have been successfully shared and implemented. Patient volunteers are in position. The first warnings came exactly as predicted. The Kraxon fleet emerged from fold space in perfect attack formation, surrounding multiple medical stations simultaneously. Their weapons powered up, their boarding craft launched, and then everything went exactly according to the humans' treatment plan. At Research Station Delta, the Kraxon boarding parties encountered what they thought was a group of helpless patients undergoing spinal therapy. Instead, they found 20 humans in exotherapeutic frames who had spent the last week practicing synchronized combat maneuvers. Remember, maintain proper posture during engagement, their physical therapist called out calmly as the patients executed a perfect coordinated defense pattern. This counts as part of your rehabilitation hours. At Medical Platform Artemis, the pediatric ward had turned their entire section into what they called an enhanced mobility obstacle course. Young humans with prosthetic limbs demonstrated exactly why giving bored, technologically enhanced teenagers 3 weeks to prepare for a fight was a tactically unsound decision. Your form is improving greatly, one doctor commented as their young patients effortlessly outmaneuvered the increasingly frustrated Kraxon soldiers. We'll definitely note this in your progress reports. But it was at Research Station Helios where the Kraxon Empire's pride suffered its final blow. As their elite forces breached the hull, they were met not by desperate resistance, but by what appeared to be a fully prepared medical conference. Welcome to our emergency symposium on xenobiological combat stress disorders, Sarah announced over the station's speakers. Today's practical demonstration will cover the psychological impact of tactical overconfidence when encountering adaptive medical technology. The Kraxon forces found themselves facing not just one station's worth of creative humans, but the coordinated efforts of every medical facility they'd attacked. Patients shared tactical data as easily as they shared recovery tips. Medical staff coordinated their treatments across multiple stations with professional efficiency. Platform Artemis reports successful application of pediatric mobility protocols, ARIA announced. Research Station Delta's spinal therapy group has achieved notable breakthrough in synchronized defensive techniques. Medical Station Ganymede's prosthetics division is documenting unprecedented adaptation rates. High Admiral Czar watched in mounting horror as his grand offensive was systematically dismantled by what appeared to be an impromptu medical research project. The humans weren't just defending themselves, they were taking notes, sharing observations, and treating the entire attack as a large-scale clinical trial. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, mandibles quivering, they're publishing their results in real time. The latest paper is titled Adaptive Applications of Medical Technology in Response to Unprecedented Stimulus, a multi-station study. The final blow to the Kraxon Empire's military reputation came when Sarah Chen's voice broadcasted across all frequencies, "Attention Kraxon forces. We'd like to thank you for participating in our emergency response trials. Your contribution to our understanding of medical technology's defensive applications has been invaluable. We've prepared detailed reports on your performance, including recommendations for future health and safety protocols." As the Kraxon fleet retreated for the last time, they left behind not just their military pride, but a new galactic understanding of human nature. The footage from their final attack would be used in medical schools and military academies across the galaxy as a prime example of why underestimating humanity's capacity for creative problem-solving was a critically poor decision. And in research stations across human space, doctors filed their reports, patients continued their recovery with newfound confidence, and medical technology took another evolutionary leap forward. After all, necessity wasn't just the mother of invention, it was also a surprisingly effective physical therapist. 6 months after what historians would come to call the medical station incident, Dr. Sarah Chen found herself standing before the Galactic Medical Conference, her synthetic arm gesturing smoothly as she presented her findings. The unexpected stress test of our recovery protocols, she explained to the packed auditorium, led to significant advances in adaptive medical technology. What began as an emergency response has revolutionized our approach to rehabilitation. The audience, comprising medical professionals from across the galaxy, including, notably, a delegation from the Kraxan Empire, watched with rapt attention as she displayed footage from the incidents. Our patients demonstrated that recovery isn't just about returning to a baseline, it's about adaptation, innovation, and sometimes exceeding original specifications. She paused, allowing herself a small smile. Though I should note that rocket-powered hospital beds were not part of our original treatment plans. Laughter rippled through the audience, though the Kraxan delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Their empire's military reputation had taken months to recover, but surprisingly, their medical science had advanced dramatically as a result of the incident. The most significant outcome, Sarah continued, wasn't the defensive capabilities we developed, but the improvements in recovery rates. When our patients realized their adaptive technologies could do more than expected, their rehabilitation progress accelerated dramatically. Captain Martinez, now fully recovered, wheeled himself onto the stage. His specialized chair, a refined version of his combat-modified hospital bed, moved with precision that would make a fighter pilot jealous. I never expected to be participating in a medical revolution, he addressed the audience, but here we are. The modifications we developed under pressure have been refined into legitimate therapeutic tools. Today, we're not just recovering, we're evolving. The presentation shifted to show the new rehabilitation centers being established across human space. The defensive modifications had been transformed into advanced therapy tools. Dr. Rodriguez's aggressive physical therapy techniques had been refined into groundbreaking treatment protocols. The Kraxan Empire's tactical error, Sarah noted diplomatically, led to the fastest advancement in human medical technology since the discovery of antibiotics. In an odd way, we owe them our thanks. The Kraxan medical delegation's leader, Dr. Zixna, rose to speak. We have learned much from this incident. Our own medical technology has advanced significantly since we began collaborating with human facilities. Though we do wish the initial contact had been less confrontational. The galaxy has changed, Sarah concluded. What started as an attack on those perceived as weak became a demonstration of strength through adaptation. Today, human medical stations are not just centers of healing, they're incubators of innovation. After the conference, Sarah stood at a viewport much like the one where this had all begun. Her synthetic arm, now upgraded with the latest innovations sparked by the conflict, moved as naturally as her organic one. Dr. Chen, Arya's voice came through her personal communicator. The first group of Kraxan medical students has arrived for the exchange program. Thank you, Arya. And the recovery ward? Operating at full capacity. Captain Martinez is already telling the new patients about the good old days when hospital beds were used as battering rams. Sarah laughed. Make sure he mentions that we don't encourage that anymore. Unless, of course, there's another emergency. The station hummed with activity around her. In the rehabilitation center, humans and aliens work together, sharing knowledge and pushing the boundaries of medical science. The defensive systems remained, carefully maintained but hopefully never needed again. You know, Martinez's voice came from behind her, some of the Kraxan military analysts still can't figure out how we did it. They keep trying to classify our medical technology as weapons. They're missing the point, Sarah replied. It was never about the technology. It was about human nature, our ability to adapt, to turn disadvantage into strength, to face adversity with creativity and determination. And a healthy dose of spite, Martinez added with a grin. That too, Sarah admitted. Though we'll leave that part out of the official medical journals. As she watched a group of new patients beginning their rehabilitation, human and alien alike, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The galaxy had learned an important lesson about humanity, that their capacity for healing was matched only by their ability to adapt and overcome. The cracks in Empire's grave mistake had led to an unexpected cure, for prejudice, for underestimation, and for the assumption that those who are healing are somehow weak. In the end, they had helped prove what humans had known all along: sometimes, the strongest people are the ones who have had to learn to heal.